Welcome back to another episode of the Mind State Podcast. Today, my guest is Jeff Hyles. He is an educator, entrepreneur, founder of JC's The Power Mindset, a program focused on helping 12 to 25-year-olds develop a growth mindset, preparing them to excel in their studies and life in general. He's also a father of an amazing young daughter named Dee Dee, who is full of exuberance and energy, husband, and we're going to talk about all this. He's also done a lot of travel, and not just stopping in a place and hanging out, but living places. So with that, I'll turn it over to you, Jeff. Go ahead and give us an introduction, and we'll jump off from there.
All right. Well, thank you so much for having me, Danny. A little bit about myself. I'm originally from Toronto, so I'm a Canadian citizen. When my parents... Actually, I was born in Mississauga, which is like about 45 kilometers west of Toronto. My parents divorced when I was 13. We moved to Toronto with my mom and my two sisters. During the teen years, I was big into community development, played a lot of sports, but I was the teenage Malcolm X for Toronto. So I was always at rallies, and I was trying to get people going and people fighting for civil rights in our Toronto context.
Yeah.
Then I went to university, took 7 years to finish my 4-year degree.
I know that life.
I studied international development studies. And so my goal was to be like a UN ambassador, helping developing educational curriculums around the world. That was the idea. So what I thought what I was going to do was start by just going overseas and just seeing what international life is like. And so I started in the UAE. I taught there for a year. And then I said, I got a job in Colombia where I was working on, I was teaching at University Language Center, and I was doing some development project work. It was actually funny because it was a project I started in university when I went to Cuba. And I was connecting universities in Toronto with primary schools in Cuba. Mm-hmm. And so I did the same project in Colombia. So it's kind of like each university kind of had a group of schools that any extra materials that they had through the year, they would donate.
Okay.
Right? And so I was setting that up. And then I thought, let me just give this teaching thing a try. I went back to Canada, did my, what they call Bachelor of Education, or our teachers college. Mm-hmm. And I taught in Toronto for 2 years, and I had a good life, man. I was teaching grade 6 in my city, but I never let myself settle. I had this beat up Honda Civic, this 2001 Honda Civic, and I wouldn't upgrade. I just said, for some reason, like, Jeff, invest in a car. I'm like, no. Mm-hmm. I lived in this like basement apartment. And the reason is I knew it wasn't it. In my own city that I love.
Yeah.
So I'm driving one day, and I'm like, why are you so unhappy? And I said, because, I'm like, what do you want? And I said, I want to travel. That next day, the same person who hired me for the UAE contacted me with this job in Istanbul, Turkey. Okay. So this was like June. I'm just finishing up school. In a couple of weeks, I'm in Turkey.
Whoa.
And so I stayed there for 5 years in 2 different schools, had all kinds of adventure, traveled all around the Middle East, through Europe, went to Egypt. It was insane. It was amazing. And then it was kind of a contract misunderstanding between me and the school. I was told them I needed a week to think about what I wanted to do. And in that week, they hired my position. So I come back, I had no job.
Damn.
So I had a friend of mine that was in Panama. And he was like, I applied there. His school didn't have a job, but this brand new school in Panama was open up. So I checked it out. I'm like, had new philosophy. I'm like, I like this vibe. I went there. They're big into development. They had a program with Jane Goodall. It was pretty epic.
Yeah.
I went there, and we were like the founding teachers. It was really exciting. I met my wife, Kathleen, there, right? So I was on an expat contract. I was doing pretty well, but she was on a local contract because she was in Panama when they got hired, even though she was a U.S. citizen.
Uh-huh.
So she wasn't making very much money, and I was doing pretty well. So we're like, well, it's not going to work. So we said, so after 2 years, and we got engaged, we went to Vietnam.
Wow.
And we stayed there for 3 years, and I was happy as can be. Traveled to Thailand, went to Singapore. My Didi was born there.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic time. But the air quality, and our grandparents were like, this is too far from the travel, so we moved back to Panama.
Mm-hmm.
At that same school I applied to originally, International School of Panama, and we stayed there for 5 years, and until the pandemic.
Ah, right.
And when the pandemic hit, my wife was really unhappy because it was super strict in Panama.
How strict was it? Like, what were some of the aspects?
Basically, the way they said that you couldn't leave your house unless to go to the hospital, the pharmacy, or the grocery store.
Mm-hmm.
And what they did was they would, depending on your cedula, or they call it your ID number. Let's say, for example, you were like number 7, right? Your digit was 7 on your passport or your ID number. You would get like this 2-hour slot Monday, Wednesday, and Friday to leave to go to either the pharmacy, the grocery, or the hospital.
Wow.
So it was super restrictive, and everything was closed, right? So we couldn't even go to our pool in our housing complex was closed,
mm-hmm.
right? Like everything was closed. And, at that time, I'm running a personal development business. I was a distributor of Prosperity of Life. It's a personal development company.
Okay.
So I did that I was doing that as I was transitioning out of teaching. And my wife was just unhappy. So that summer she came to Austin to see her mother, and I stayed in Panama. I was working.
Mm-hmm.
And she called me. She said, I don't want to come back.
Wow.
And we just made it happen. She got a job here, and within 10 days, we just turned our life upside down.
Oh, my gosh.
Literally, she got a job, and with 10 days later, we're living in Austin. So she had to come. We came back home. We had to sell our stuff, pack up our things. It was absolutely nuts. Paint our house.
Uh-huh.
And we got it finished with we finished everything with 10 minutes to leave before we had to get to the airport. We did the nick of time. And we got to Austin.
And when was that? When did you arrive here in Austin?
That was 2021.
Okay, yeah. So the pandemic was still in full swing, and it
Yeah.
was pretty strict there in Panama.
In Panama. But here,
Much better.
much better. What was interesting was I remember when I went to get my vaccine in Panama, there was a whole structure to it, right? Here, you just walk in. You just walk in.
Sure.
And just set yourself up if that's what you want to do.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's just totally different. And we've been here ever since.
Wow. So you mentioned that originally the goal was to be a UN ambassador. Is that still an aspiration of yours, or have things transitioned since then?
Well, what I really wanted to do was I wanted to work in education overseas, helping developing communities.
Okay.
Right? That was the original idea. And right now, that's something I would still like to do, but that would be an offshoot of what I'm doing now.
Yeah. Okay.
Does that make sense? It's not the primary goal, but once what I'm doing lifts off, then we can do some offshoot project. I would love to finance some projects.
Oh, okay.
And get involved in still developing schools based on a philosophy I think would be work for everyone.
Yeah, and I definitely want to dig in more to specifically what you're doing now. Before we do, though, you have had, you just covered it, a lot of travel experience. And just at a high level, I'm curious how living in these various places influenced really who you are today.
Great question. I think one thing, I was very blessed to be born in Toronto. Because Toronto is a city super multicultural.
Yeah.
Right? So if you go down now, you'll just see groups of people of different cultures, ethnicities hanging out together as Canadians and not even thinking about it.
Yeah.
It's not even an issue. People just hanging out. They're just Canadians, right?
Totally.
And so when I grew up, in my classes, I had people from all around the world hanging out. In my soccer team, I had people all around the world hanging out. So I was just used to different people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So to me, people hang, and that kind of made me comfortable around being in different environments. Mm-hmm. So when I traveled overseas, the first time I went, it was because my friend went to Korea first, and I came back and he said, Jeff, you're the only person that actually asked about what happened. People just got bored after 2 seconds. I'd be like, tell me everything. Tell me how did you order a cookie from the bakery? You know what I mean? Like, how did you do that? I was amazed at everything. And my friend's like, dude, you got to do this. So when the time was right, I went, and I think what it taught me was, one, how to approach life. Like the most valuable asset we have is time, and use every second of it to enjoy this one life you have. And when I was traveling, I felt like I was doing that. So remember the time I had that stint in Toronto, I felt like I didn't have that same energy.
Yeah.
Right? Whereas like everything you do is amazing. You know what I mean? Like, wow, look how they order juice in Colombia. You know what I mean? Like, look how they get a taxi in the UAE. Like everything was interesting to me.
Yeah.
So you looked at life through like a curious eyes, and I love the role of the foreigner. Because you're kind of like, you're in these strange places. You can think and be who you are. You're in the environment, but you're not part of the environment, so you don't have the same expectations as the locals. Yeah. You're just kind of this crazy, smiling Canadian person that just loves everything, right? And so, it's like you looked at life from like a 360-degree view, right? And I loved it. And I think what I learned the most, one of the biggest thing that impacted me is, one, to be curious, to be humble, to respect everyone's experience, right? No matter who you are, they have a story.
Yeah.
Right? And I've had some of my best conversations with people who are homeless.
Yeah.
I've had conversations with people from Palestine who were like tried to escape their life situation. I've had situations with people who've escaped war, and just the conversation I've had has given me so much value.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that the biggest lesson I've learned is allow me to be comfortable with people, and to realize we're way more the same than we're different.
I love that. That's a good way to put it.
Right? As the human animal, if you go to most people, no matter where you are on Earth, they wake up in the morning, do something during the day, they come home to their families. And they do something to eat. And besides that, the rest are just details of that same experience.
Yeah. So fun. And I think, like you said, that role of being the foreigner, it really helps put you in that curiosity perspective. And it almost just trained you to stay curious, it seems.
It does. And being here, I try to keep that rule. Right? Where I look at Austin as, I don't get myself ingrained in what's happening, but I can just look at it from an outside point of view, and it keeps me at a certain peace with what's happening in the world.
All right. I suspect that curiosity plays into the work you're doing with kids. So let's start to talk about that. So you work directly with kids on their mindset and helping develop that. So to kick things off, what I'm curious is, how important is like the relationship they have with their parents and the style of parenting that those parents use in terms of you being able to teach them these principles of how to have a growth mindset?
Well, it's a great question, because the parents is the first initial blueprint.
Yeah.
Right? And oftentimes, not just what they say, it's the whole experience of the parenting.
Yeah.
So it's what they do, it's what they observe, it's how they see you treat other people, where they start to get a sense of their beliefs, limiting or not, right? So in terms of understanding how they get where they are, their parental relationships have a big impact on why they're so afraid, or why they're so nervous, or why they're not afraid, right? What conversations are they having? Do they believe in themselves? What have they been hearing? And it could be something as simple as, do you listen to your kid? Right? It may not even be what you're saying to them, but do you listen to what they say? Do you honor their feelings?
Yeah.
Do you listen when you disagree?
Instead of just cutting them off and reiterating your own point. Yeah.
And it's one thing that I'm working on is with my daughter is allowing her to have a complete finish of her space.
Okay.
So sometimes, like, for example, if I think of it from Dee's perspective, it's like, Dee Dee. She's hearing, someone's always calling her name, and she doesn't have a chance just to finish something. You know what I mean? So, like, that's why sometimes I fear, like, she likes going to a movie, because, like, she could just be, and no one's interrupting. Do you know what I mean? Like, are we honoring that space in her? And that honoring her says that we believe in her and we trust her, and it gives her the confidence that what she chooses to do has value. So there's a lot of things that we do, and I think another thing too, that do not just respect your child, but do you respect their generation?
Wow.
Do you respect their time and place that they're in? Right? So I deal with a lot of parents that say to me, well, that's not how we grew up. I'm like, yeah, because it's not 1980.
Yeah. Good thing, right?
It's a good thing.
Yeah.
You would hope that it wouldn't. Right? Well, that's not how we did things. Yeah. Times have changed.
Totally.
Right? And I think when parents start to respect the generation, then they start to see it's okay not to know everything as a parent. And it's okay to explain what you're thinking and knowing that you want what's best for them and then working it out. Because you don't know everything.
Even just admitting that
right
can be a powerful step, it sounds like.
It's a big, powerful step. And one of the things, too, is that I think it's very important in terms of what your relationship with your child is do you trust them to talk about your life?
Can you elaborate on that a bit?
Think of it this way, right? A lot of people will come home and they'll say, hey, dear, how's your day? Right? And sometimes they'll say nothing, or they'll say it's okay. And you want more, right?
Yeah.
But then you think about it, are you giving them more? Are you telling them about your day? Are you telling them how things are going with you? So imagine, from a child's perspective, if you did tell them about your day, if you told them how things were going at work, or you asked their opinion, how that would expand that communication sphere with your child. Right? They would see them like, wow, my family, my father, my mother respects me enough to talk about their day. And not talk to them about, like, in terms of, but just how are they feeling? How it went well? Why they're frustrated? Why they're not frustrated? What excites them? What they're looking forward to, right?
Yeah.
And then they'll be more comfortable, like, yeah, that was like me, right? You had trouble with your client. I had trouble with my friend. Does that make sense?
It does. And like a few weeks ago, I was in a car ride with my older daughter, and God, maybe you had planted that seed in my head, because I was thinking exactly that. Like, okay, if I want her to share with me, then I got to share with her. And I was struggling a bit to share authentically, is the best way I can put it. I'm curious how you think about that, because it's not yet my default to, say I do have a challenge at work or with one of my friends, to bring that up to her. And so I'm curious how you think about it, or if you have strategies to make that a little bit easier, or is it just go for it?
Well, it's a great question, because the way I look at it is that you can translate your specific experience to the feeling that they would understand. Because what really matters, right? So, for example, if you're having issue with a client, what frustrates you may not be the fact that a specific coding issue you're having, but it may be the frustration or the lack of patience your client has, or the fact that you tried 7 things that didn't work. They can relate to that.
Okay.
So it's not necessarily they can say, I tried 7 things, but you know what? I tried this math problem 7 different ways, right? So it's understanding what's really bothering you isn't the specific problem. It's what you're feeling. It's what you're sharing, and that feeling translates.
It sounds like, at least where I'm at now, I really just need to practice more, and maybe it will be a little awkward at first.
It's like anything. I also think too is because socially we think of this conversation is for this group of people. This conversation is for this group of people. Does that make sense? And so your brain socially, it's awkward because it's not in its habit. It's not in its habit practice. It's not in its. There's no schema for it to connect to. Right. So your brain's thinking, well, I haven't done this before, so it feels weird. It's like if you like doing yoga for the first time, it's like it feels weird.
Totally.
Yeah, I mean, like you do driving stick for the first time, it feels weird, right? Like it's just something your brain's not wired to yet.
But it's worth doing.
Well, I just think if you invest in that communication now, right? When times get tough, that communication practice is there.
Yeah. It reminds me of this story I read a couple of years back now of a guy who, his 15-year-old son took his own life.
Oh, wow.
And, it obviously crushed him. It was unexpected. He had no idea the kid was struggling at that level. And so this father made it his mission to try to reverse engineer what happened, and then do everything he could to help other parents avoid that outcome. And one of the main things he arrived at was, I never let my kids see me struggle. I was always stoic. Dad's always got it together. And then his belief was, so when my son started to struggle with things, he felt like there was something wrong with him because he'd never seen dad struggle. That's impacted me a lot, and I do try to find ways to share my struggle because, especially as a man, it's really hard to show vulnerability and to be like, oh, I don't got it together. And there's almost like this, I think it is important that I got to show strength. Like I can't just be sniveling all the time about how hard things are. I got to be like, dad's got it, like I don't want you to take on my problems. But there's this balance between showing that, yes, like I have a hard time too. Yes, your mother struggles with things too. Like life is a challenge, and if you feel challenged, that's okay. Like you're not broken. You're just living.
It's funny because if you think about it from your kid's perspective, right? You have a functioning household, right? You've gone on trips, you've gone to work, you've gone on outings, and what they see is things functioning.
Yeah. Right?
When they see things functioning, you're already showing strength.
Yeah.
The fact that they go to school, they're eating well, they go to sleep at a certain time, the things are working, that's showing strength. So you show strength 90% of the time.
True.
I mean, you don't have to like lift a car, right? But just the fact that you have a functioning life, right? That you have a job, that you have your act together, you made friendships, that when they wake up in the morning, their day makes sense. Does that make sense?
It's predictable.
There's a rhyme to reason to it.
Yeah.
So you constructed all that. That's them. Their living is a demonstration of your strength.
Okay.
So when you're demonstrating your vulnerabilities, that's what's different. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what's unique. So what you could do is you can explain why you do things to share your, and because you show strength doesn't mean you can't talk about your strength.
Yeah.
That's still a point of communication. You can still use that to communicate with your kids and explain why you do things this way, what's the thinking behind it, what options do you think about? May I try this way, this way, this way, and we thought this was the best reason for these reasons. You're still sharing.
Yeah.
Right? And then what they understand is they start to connect with you because they know you better. Does that make sense? Like if you ask how many parents, a lot of times when they kids say they know their parents, they know what the parents want to show them. The goofy dad, the strict mom, like, you know what I mean? The caring aunt, whoever it is, it's what they want to show. But do they really know you? Do they say, you know what? This is going to upset my dad. Do they understand what is it about you that they understand why they do that? Do they know your past?
Yeah,
Right? Do they know why you're like this? Like one of the things that my daughter loves is my stories. She can't get enough. Right? Tell me a story. Tell me a story, and she'll put categories. When you were 21, living in the UAE, and teaching. Wow. Tell me when you were 16, playing soccer, and you're tackling somebody. Like, she wants categories, and I always tell her like, there's 8-year-old stories, there's 10-year-old stories, there's 16-year-old stories, and there's 25-year-old stories. We're both having wine together.
Right.
There's stories you'll hear at a different point, and I think because she learns more about this important figure in her life, right? It unveils that mystery about what you're really like.
Yeah. So clearly, I mean, I don't think too many people would dispute that parents are important. So bringing it to the work that you do with the Power Mindset and working with kids 12 to 25, I guess what I'm driving at is, have you had a situation where the kid's a great candidate and then you keep bumping up against challenges with their parents and it feels like you're in conflict almost, like you're trying to teach them one thing but they're getting a different message from the parent? Has that happened?
Yes.
Okay.
That's why I have a parent group as part of the package.
Okay.
Right? So there's they have a WhatsApp.
And is that
group.
Required to participate essentially?
It's not required, but it's accessible to them.
Uh-huh.
Right? So that they get resources. And I have a parent seminar every month to do we talk about communication. We talk about what's happening in technology. So they get some information that I present to them and we have a discussion about it, which really helps.
Okay.
The most important thing when dealing with parents, and I learned this long before I did this, is dealing with school when I was in education for so many years.
Yeah.
Is they have to know that we're on the same side. We are on the same side. I'm not in conflict with you. Right? But I can see things from a different angle that has value. And the value comes from decades of experience working with thousands of kids in countries all around the world. Right?
Yeah.
So when I'm showing you something, it's coming from a place that I only want what's best for your child. Right? So I'm utilizing my experience to give a perspective. Now you have a perspective as a parent that I can't see. You've been with this kid their whole life. You know them in a way I don't know. So your perspective has value too, and there's a way of sharing that value. The key thing is you have to respect their perspective.
The parent's perspective.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you have to show your perspective based on your experience. And most often, the parents are very grateful for your input once you know their kid. That's really important,
Okay.
right? So, for example, I take a lot of time to get to know kids, right? And oftentimes when I was teaching, when I would tell their parents about their kid, they're like, man, you know them better than I do. Or like, they're like, that's exactly how it is. Once you get to that point, you've gotten like a trustworthy that you've invested enough time and energy that you know my kid.
Right.
So now you have my ear.
Definitely. And then they're more willing to
And
collaborate.
then they're more willing to think about what you're saying. And 99% of the times, once you show them, this is what I want. So the reason I'm telling you this is for this end goal. Mm-hmm. Right? And if once that end goal is something that they agree with, then we can talk about the different ways of doing it.
Yeah.
And part of the enlightenment that you can give them is what's happening today in the world. Right? Okay. So they're coming from a different perspective, like, and I'm coming from a perspective that I'm studying this.
Right.
I'm paying attention to this. This is my job. I need to know what's happening with these kids in this today. Does that make sense?
Yeah. All right. So the work you're doing it's like on top of what they're already doing. Most kids are attending school. Even if they're homeschooled, they're experiencing some sort of learning and curriculum. Mm-hmm. And so you're this bonus perspective and approach on how to do things. How important do you feel the school that a kid is at is to their development?
It's huge.
Yeah.
It's absolutely huge. Think of it in terms of time invested.
Yeah.
Okay? If a kid between, let's say they go to school between 5 and 6, they start. If they graduate from the high school, that's 18. To go to university, that's 22, 23. To do their master's, 25. That's good. That's a good portion of your youth.
Yeah. Massive.
Right? Think about in a 24-hour day, their waking hours, how much time they're in school or doing school-related activities. If it's homework, if it's after-school club, compared to when they're home.
Yeah, I mean, the longer it goes on, it becomes the biggest component of their waking life.
It's huge. And that's why luck has so much to do with it. I'll tell you why I say that. I'll tell you a story. I was in Vietnam, and I had this student. She was from Australia, and she was not a strong student. Mm-hmm. So she had about 3 or 4 girls there, and they're all in my homeroom, grade 6 homeroom. And all those 3 girls that they were with were super strong students, right? And nice girls, good athletes, good artists, just great kids. And that was who she was hanging out with. Mm-hmm. So her grades started to turn up. She started being like better in school because that was her surroundings. So I'm her homework teacher, and I taught her humanities. The parents come to me at the break, at the midterm point when we have this conference, and they're like, Mr. Hyles, thank you so much. You've done a wonderful job. I'm like, I could take 0 credit for this. I could take 0 credit for this. Those girls lifted your daughter up.
Wow.
I take 0 credit for it.
Well, I won't accept that. I give you some credit for it.
Because those girls, she wanted to be like those girls. Right? So they were studying, she was studying. Right? So that's what I mean by luck. Right? And it happens the other way. Right? Where you have kids, parents have worked so hard to get kids, all of a sudden they sit beside the one person beside the next person, and all of a sudden they're in counseling in a year. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So let's dig into that more, because especially as parents, I don't want to only rely on luck that my kid just happens to befriend the right group of kids. And so admittedly, like we do a fair amount of curation on who our kids are
Right.
friends with and what their parents are like. What are some tips or advice on helping parents be more tactical and strategic about ensuring that their kids are lucky?
Okay, great question. It's actually a part of my course I teach in terms of the activity is what's the job application to be your friend?
Huh. Oh, I like this metaphor.
So if you had to, if someone's applying to be your friend, what's the job application? What do they have to have? What's the requirement to be your friend?
And so is this like a conversation we have with the kid directly, like to get them to start thinking about like what are the qualifications? Okay.
Because what you want them to think about is you want them to think. You want to think them. It ties back. That's the surface question. But as we're gonna go back to a deeper, we'll touch on a deeper energy that spawns, which is the key. You want your kids to be clear on who's going to be in their space, and you want them to be the one who's selecting.
Yeah, definitely.
Right? So but for that to happen, they have to have an idea of who they are and who they want to be. So I think of your youngest daughter, who has the confidence of Michael Jordan.
Oh yeah.
I mean, what a beautiful kid, right?
Agreed.
But I see she's the one calling the shots. She's not following nobody,
No.
right? So if you're up to no good, she won't have no part of it. That's exactly what you want. So the question is, does your child feel strong about themselves, that they don't feel the need to get someone else's approval, that they'll allow someone else to select them to be in their group?
Right.
So they have to feel strong enough, and their confidence, self-esteem has to be healthy enough that they can make the choice, even if the choice is to be alone.
Yeah.
Right? And that's the key. And that is why what parents tell kids or their environment makes such a big difference. Because if they feel healthy and strong and confident and loved and able to make mistakes without feeling that sense of like doom and gloom, or they have a fixed mindset, if they have a growth mindset, then they're not going to feel the need to gravitate to a friend group just to fill a void. So more important than just, you want to send kids into the world with one, a real strong sense of self, two, a clear sense of who they want around them.
And I guess what's coming up for me is one way to approach that is being clear just what the core values of the family are.
Absolutely.
And then they're using those to look at their friendships. Is this person friendly, honest?
And that's like Dwayne was talking about in his book, about principles. Right? You have to define those first. Who are you? What are you about?
Yeah.
Right? Who are you? And in this day and age, it's even more important because there's so much thrown at kids.
Yeah.
Right? So you want to make sure, as you as a family unit, are collectively determining the principles first. If not, Facebook or Snapchat or IG or whatever it is, social media will do it for you.
Oh, and I don't want that.
You want no part of that.
Yeah.
And the same thing kind of happens with social media, where what you want is that they're determining what is coming into their psyche or not. Right? They're determining what's allowed to be in their space.
Yeah, and it really comes down to the family's core values and communicating those.
And also seeing it in action.
Tell me more about that.
So, for example, let's say, for example, one of your core values is honesty, right? and you say honesty is really important to us. I want you to be honest with me. I want to be honest with you. We want to be honest with each other. You want to find people who are honest with you. And then your kid does something wrong. But they know the core value is honesty. And they come and tell you to be honest, but you discipline them in a way that makes them feel bad about themselves, about the act that they did wrong in the first place.
Yeah.
So now you're saying, well, you told me to be honest, but the action is telling me I'd rather not be honest because of the way you handle the situation. So, for example, even if you did something that's like, listen, I have to discipline you until you learn to do it, but I'm grateful that you were honest with me. Right? I still have to discipline you, but I'm not going to go as hard as I would have because you're honest. Now they can see that the honesty principle in action. It had value.
Okay, yeah, that connects. I see what you're saying. Let's see. One question that's been on my mind as I was prepping and think about what I wanted to get out of your mind is, well, the way I phrased it was, how can parents teach their kids about fixed versus growth mindset without them rolling their eyes? And the reason I say this is, like, my wife and I are both positive, very personal development oriented. We're always saying things, that are of this nature, like looking at it from a positive perspective, to the point now where our younger daughter sometimes, like, she just detects it and she's just like, oh my gosh, like, stop it, and I guess I'll just stop there, and I'd like your feedback on how to communicate these ideas in a way that connects with them.
Great question. The one thing that you can do is you can highlight it when it happens in the world. Right? I'll give you an example. We were watching sports the other day, me and my daughter, and they were talking about the NBA champion and the Indiana Pacers who lost the finals.
Okay.
And they were saying how is the Indiana Pacers season a failure?
Okay.
Right? This was the conversation in there. And so they're saying, well, if you don't win the championship, you're a failure. That was the conversation they're having. So that's the time we say, well, if you've won this X amount of games, you've won 3 rounds of the playoffs, you've developed your skills, you've gotten better, how's that a failure?
Yeah, not at all.
So if you're focusing on what they've improved on, you see it in action without having to use the word growth mindset.
Yeah, so maybe shy away from the phrase.
Because the phrasing is now connected to something that it's connected to, like, okay, here he goes again.
Yeah.
I get that same thing too,
Totally.
right? When it's like, Didi, it's time to breathe. But that's okay, because what it is too is that she's young now. We breathe every morning, but what I see sometimes is that she'll use it when she needs it. So it's
without
more
your prompting.
It's more value because it's a skill that she's practiced.
Yeah.
Right? So, for example, she may roll her eyes at you, but she may see a kid on the playground who gets frustrated with something, and she can use the growth mindset principles to handle the situation.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So you want to identify it, and then you have to make sure that you demonstrate it and that you honor the mistakes. So, for example, if you see your kids doing something that they're trying to figure something out, right? Instead of going over and fixing it, you allow them to go through that growth process, and then you say, that was fantastic. I love how you try to figure that out.
Right. So praising them for their effort.
Right, which is what growth mindset is.
Yeah, totally.
Right, it's saying you're honoring the struggle because the struggle is what makes you better.
Definitely. Awesome. All right, let's dig more into the programs you offer more specifically. And I'd like to hear about, well, maybe even just like at a high level, the structure. Like how long does it go? What does that look like? And the process of a kid entering the program and what the check-ins look like and measuring progress to show that, like, yes, this is having an impact.
Great question. Do you mind if I take you back to how this idea got started?
Not at all. Yeah, let's do that. Please do.
Because I think you'll find it very interesting.
Okay, great.
So I've been into personal development my whole life, right? From Tony Robbins and Mel Robbins and like Deepak Chopra. I used to read all their books, and I always loved it. And I used to hear this phrase all the time in like lectures and podcasts. I wish I knew this when I was younger.
Uh-huh.
I wish I knew this when I was younger. And I kept saying, well, why don't we teach them when they're young?
Totally.
Do you know what I mean? Like, how much suffering could kids avoid if they had the skills to maneuver through their difficult teenage years?
Yeah.
So after I was distributing for Prosperity of Life, the personal development products, I was really into it. I joined this teacher project, and I was going to teach math as this tutoring program that they have. It's like a teacher project, like a group that helps teachers become entrepreneurs.
Okay.
And I was reading Mel Robbins' book, The 5-Second Rule. Have you read it?
Yeah, I haven't read it, but
you
my
know the
wife
concept,
has.
right?
Yeah, definitely.
So the concept is you make a decision, you have 5 seconds to act on it, or your brain will forget it.
Mm-hmm.
And it says you go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and you have to move.
Yeah.
You have to physically move so that you sharpen the prefrontal cortex to act.
Okay.
So even if it's like you move your arm, you move your hand, you stand up, like. So I'm in my bed and I'm listening. I'm thinking about this. I've written up my 12-week math program. I'm starting to advertise for it. I'm like, I don't care about math. I care about this.
Mm-hmm.
And I went 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, move. I got up. It's like 2 a.m. I rewrote my STO in like an hour.
Wow.
I'm like, this is what I'm going to do. Because I've been in my consciousness for like 8 years. And now's the time.
All right.
So how did the program develop? So first is the thing of ideas and concepts, what I wanted to do. And then it went from, well, that's not strong enough. There has to be habits attached to it. So it started off with the Power Mindset and Championship Habits formula, which was, we're going to teach you mindset concepts, and every week, you're going to get one habit to practice.
Okay.
Right? And then my job was to monitor their habits, right? And see how the progress come with your mindset. And then what happened was, then what happened, it evolved to saying, because we spent I spent the first week of the program trying to establish the North Star. But I realized it was too hard to do in a group setting.
Okay.
So what I've done now is it's evolved to, so yeah, that was the first part of the course. And then I started thinking of other ideas. I was talking to Dwayne,
Mm-hmm.
and he was talking about, you know what is really the most powerful part of your program is the section you have on reframing. He said, that could be a whole 12 weeks. Think! Idea.
Okay.
Then I started thinking, well, if they've had this 12 weeks as reframing, what are the things that they can do? Communication. Dink! Another course came into my head. And I started thinking, what other things that else they need? So leadership. So I started a leadership course, started developing. Mm-hmm. And then it went into, okay, so now if they've gone through the mindset, the habits, the reframing, the leadership, now you've got some real skills. And they've been with me for a year. Mm-hmm. What are we going to do with these skills? So I developed entrepreneurship. And then after that, at first I had like a law of attraction, but now I kind of have like a capstone project at the end to finish it.
Nice.
And so now it's evolved from a 12-week course to a 2-year program.
Okay.
And the reason why I saw 2 years was 2 reasons. One, I wanted time for the relationship to develop, to deepen. Mm-hmm. Because part of kids' process and progress is the relationship. It's really important, mm-hmm. right? That you get to know them, that you're into it. And then second, if you stay with me for 2 years, I can guarantee you have a different kid. Mm-hmm. I can guarantee it. The science will say it. If you do the habits, if you get the support, if you follow along, you will be a different kid.
Yeah,
totally. I can look at your kid's eye and I can guarantee it. Mm. And then there's another part of it I looked at it from. Is how it got to that point. My mom is from Trinidad and Tobago.
Yeah.
And when she used to take us to see our uncles and aunts, the whole street was uncle this and auntie so-and-so and great auntie so and your cousin so-and-so and the whole street. So she used to come and she'd just walk in anywhere and eat. Just say you're my son and eat. That's how she grew up. Mm. Just cousins, just popping out everywhere, right? And that was the village. Mm-hmm. And so luckily when I grew up, we still had a village of like friends. My parents' friends were like our uncles and aunts. We grew up with their kids were our cousins, even though they weren't related. Yeah. And to this day, we can think that. So I was lucky to have that village, but most people don't. Mm-hmm. So most people's village would be a coach here, a tutor here. So I figured for 2 years, if I could be a part of this family's village, that's a huge support to the parents. So if you could have someone to have your kids back, an adult, that's teaching them positive things for 2 full years, that's a huge service to that family.
Yeah, massively.
Right? And especially during those tough teenage years. Mm-hmm. So that's how the 2-year program evolved. Now, what the features of the program also have a very specific purpose to it. So there's a group coaching, which I teach them the concepts and we have the discussions. And then there's office hours, usually on Fridays, which is just a time where I'm on Zoom, I'm doing my work, and they just pop in and just talk. Gotcha. Right? That's their time. Mm-hmm. And they could just text me and they could just say, hey, I need in. And they come in and we just chat. Mm. So they have that time where it's like there's always someone there they can talk to. Mm-hmm. Right? So that's what I asked for the program. The next aspect of the program was I give them a message every day. Okay. Right? So every day they receive a message from me. Hey, just checking up on your habits. You're doing well. Keep it up. Yeah. I haven't seen anything today. Let's get on it. And I give them like a quote from Michael Jordan, from Kobe Bryant, from Bill Gates, from whoever. Mm-hmm. Right? Someone's inspiring. I said, and so they hear a positive message every day.
Nice. How do you communicate with them typically? Like, is there a platform or
I
just
just
like
use,
through?
I usually use like either through WhatsApp
Okay,
or I
gotcha.
use through school,
Okay.
right? And it just like keeps them connected. And then I have the parent groups. So they have their own communications, they have questions, and they realize they're not alone.
Yeah.
And then I have the webinar to give them information and research. So that's what everything they get within it. It's all purposely designed so that, because like you said, if I'm doing something the parents are contradicting me, it's not going to help. So you have to be on the same page, right? So the parent, and then also too, is a lot of the parents need the program.
Like they get support from it as well.
Right. So a lot of parents have said, yeah, I do the habits too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And the habits are not like, the habits take like 30 seconds to fit.
What are a couple of the habits just to have some examples?
So the first habit is gratitude,
Oh, okay.
right? So
Good one. Love it.
you just have to, all you have to do is every day you go on a document, you write 3 things you're grateful for. And I just say, fantastic.
Yeah, no matter what.
Or I'll say a story about something about me,
Uh-huh.
right? Oh, I do that too, or I'm grateful for that too, or whatever. Then there's another habit like, what are your wins for the day? Right? 3 things that you did well today. But all of these things, there's neurological benefits to it. So I teach this in the class, right? So I said, by doing this, you're actually starting to shift your brains. And then what happens, like for example, for gratitude, they're shifting their brain, their actual brain chemistry, they start to look for things they're grateful for.
Totally.
Right? Different parts of your brain start to shift where you're now more efficient, you're more resilient, your actual chemicals are different. You have more adrenaline because you're seeing positive things. It's giving you more dopamine and adrenaline to give you more happier because you're seeing it, right? So I teach kids that this is not just the habits are designed to make an impact on your brain chemistry.
Yeah. Got it. And have you had cases where, like, as you come in to be a part of this family's village to help specifically with mindset and, with your background in education, a lot of times it's helping them to do things in school, to be better at that. How often, or has it come up where a kid just has like a more, personal or emotional struggle, and how do you integrate that in if it does come up?
Oh, it happens every single time.
Okay. Tell me more, like,
So,
to the way that you can.
Sometimes it'll happen like so a kid always, whenever I meet a kid, they have to tell me your story. Just like you did for you, like I did for you.
Yep.
And through the story, you can see where their pain points are. Sometimes like we just moved too many times. Sometimes like, my father is abusive. Sometimes it's like things are real things.
Yeah.
And sometimes there are things, if there's things that like, this is too much for what I can handle, I'll say, you know what, this needs to go to a psychiatrist.
Sure.
Right? Because I can help you with your mindset toward, but this may be something where you need something with a little bit more at that level than what I could provide in a group setting. But the value of having someone listen to your darkest secrets without judgment is just so powerful.
Yeah, on its own.
On its own. You could talk to a frog, right? And just if the frog's listening to you, that would make you feel better. And just having someone there to speak to and letting you finish gives these kids a lot of lift. And oftentimes when they're in a group setting, the kids are really good about like, wow, you know what? And you're still here, and you're still trying, good for you. Does that make sense?
So even just the other kids in the program that are hearing what they're coming or struggling with as another person listening to what they have to say.
It's so huge.
Yeah.
And oftentimes like it'll come up in different ways. right? The situation will come up in different ways. And it could come up during a habit task. It could come up during, what they appreciate may be something like, today, appreciate the fact that I didn't get hit today.
Oh, wow.
Like, okay, wow.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like, but it allows them a space to get that stuff out. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So yes, those things do come up. And there's times where like I'll set an extra time with the kid, like, okay, me and you are gonna have a one-on-one conversation, and I just let them talk. And usually my role is to listen, confirm that I heard everything they said, repeat back to them what they said, validate what they're saying is real, and assess where they are and what they need. Do they need just to be heard?
Yeah.
Right? And that if they need, do you need a next step? Right? Do you need a perspective? Like, do you need to know, like, you know what? Right now you're 12. You got a lot of years left. There's a lot of hope for. So my job is to assess what they need and get what they need at the time.
Yeah, definitely. There's this nuance between knowing when an issue is they just need to be heard, seen, and when it requires escalation. It's like, okay, this is actually serious or maybe outside of my scope. Do you have a heuristic that you kind of follow for sensing when, like, maybe we need to get more help here, or this is outside of my expertise?
Yeah. So that usually happens at the initial discovery stage.
So pretty early, you kind of.
Yeah.
have
So
a
like
sense.
usually the first time, like if it's something like really really serious, I'm like, okay, you know what? I'll tell the parent before you get into like the second call. Like we usually have to meet them for 5 minutes to kind of see like if that situation comes up.
Yeah.
I'm
sure.
looking for that. So you know what? This is not we can't handle in this setting. You're better doing this or this or this.
Sure.
Right.
Sure.
And sometimes it's both. Right. So like I had one person who said like they wanted the group setting, they wanted the activities, the mindset, but his part of my job was helping their mindset towards their treatment.
Okay.
See what I'm saying? Like, to be able to change their mindset to recognize this is part of your growth mind. This is part of your growth.
Yeah.
And it's okay. Right? Part of limiting beliefs, which is one of my more powerful sessions, when kids identify the limiting beliefs, is where a lot of stuff comes out. Oh,
I bet.
Right? To really figure out, okay, this is what I think, this is what I'm feeling. And you say, okay, well, how do you get this thought? Like, how did this appear? Is it really true? Mm-hmm. If it's not really true, how can that open things up for you?
Yeah.
If you recognize this person's just here to help, isn't it good to have help? Mm-hmm. I mean, it's okay not to do it on your own. That's a big limiting belief amongst young boys too.
That they have to do it on their own. They can't ask for help.
Can't ask for help.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Even now, you feel like that's still happening with young boys?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's still this definition of what strong means. Right? And showing vulnerability sometimes, although it's necessary, is not seen as strong or alpha, as they say in today's world, right?
Yeah.
So you just have to kind of reframe it in a way to let them see actually it's really strong. Mm-hmm. It's actually easier to pretend like it never happened than to do the hard work to figure it out.
Yeah. All right. Going in a slightly different direction and just thinking about parents that are in a position where they can really optimize things for their kids and line things up in a very methodical, thoughtful way. Because you've had a lot of experience in education, and there's different sort of models and approaches to how a school or a curriculum should be run. In your mind and in your experience, what are some of the best ways that a kid can learn in a school setting? Like, so whether it's, very traditional setting where it's very hierarchical or more flat type of learning environments, what are the pros, cons, and what would you like recommend for parents to do if they really want to make the best decision possible?
Okay, it's a great question. So let's look at what schools are trying to balance. At first, it was, if you think about how schools were designed back in the Industrial Revolution, when schools really started coming, people coming from the farms, coming into the cities, and they're basically training them how to be factory workers.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? You need to learn this skill to do this, and the whole school system is designed to do that. There's a bell, just like a cattle. There's a bell, you come in, you listen without speaking, and you come out. So it's very much system structure where you're energy towards the system. We realize as time changes that you want your school to have some balance. They've talked about like multiple intelligences, talked about the IB system, inquiry-based learning, we call universal design for learning, which is like where you have a lesson plan that has designed for all different type of kids, right?
Okay.
And so there's all these different systems now where they're trying to balance the needs of the student, right? So you have student-centered and you have system-centered.
Okay.
The more student-centered your program is, the better.
Interesting.
The reason is because they're identifying with your specific kid. Instead of just putting you into the slot of grade 5 and it's what we teach them.
Yeah.
Right? So like what if your kid can do more than grade 5? What if your kid, I remember a situation happened once. I was teaching kindergarten in Turkey.
Wow. Okay.
And I was teaching 4-year-old kids, and there's a girl, Canadian girl, really great teacher who's teaching 5-year-olds who's Montessori trained. She had her kids flying, man. Those kids were... So the teacher's getting mad at her because she has her kids like counting to 10,000.
Wow.
But she's like, they can do it.
Yeah.
If they can't do it, we won't. If they couldn't count to 10, we count to 10. They can do it. She said, if they know how to do algebra tomorrow, we're teaching them algebra. Like, they can do it. If they can do it, why not? So the system is saying, well, you're only supposed to teach up to this.
Yeah.
The teacher's saying, but they're capable of doing way more. Right?
Yeah.
So why limit them?
Sure.
Right? And that's the difference. So you want a system that focuses on your kid and getting the best out of them. And the reason why it's a balance is because the brain research says, for example, like teenagers think best between 10 and 2.
Okay.
Right? That's the research says.
Uh-huh.
So why are we starting kids at 7:45?
Oh, I hate that. I hate how early school starts.
So three out of your three hours are not optimized. And then the time that is optimized, and after so the time they actually between 2 and 5 would be a good time for kids to learn. They're gone. So if you have kids from like from 10 to 4, that'd be perfect for teenage kids. But they can't because it has to fit into the system of when parents go to work. See what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
It's kind of like health and eating. All the research says that you should have your biggest meal in breakfast.
Oh really?
Yeah, because you haven't eaten in 8 hours.
Sure. Okay.
Right? And you need that meal is to sustain you for your work. Right? So what you should do is you should have your biggest meal in breakfast. You should have a good meal lunch, and your dinner, because you're not utilizing it for anything, should be your smallest meal. Right? Okay. So the research knows that health-wise, that's what we should be doing. But we don't do that. We do that based on the work schedule. We have more time at dinner, so we have a bigger meal, even though we know we're not using it, and while we have a huge obesity problem. Right?
Yeah.
So it's like, if you want to lose weight, just shift it. Have your biggest meal in breakfast, have your smallest meal at dinner, and you'll just see like a huge change in you, right? If you think about it, right? What are you doing with that big? You ate like this huge meal at 8 o'clock.
Yeah,
are you going to swim with it after? You're just going, just sitting there in your stomach for the next 10 hours.
Well, just disrupting my sleep, if anything, especially if you are going to bed, not too long after you eat.
And that's the system versus what's best for your kid.
Okay.
Right? So there's a lot of good programs out there that are understanding that if you focus on my kids' needs, they can get the best out of them.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like there's this old saying, there's this little meme that shows a fish and a bird and a bear, and they have to climb a tree, right? And so that's what we do in education, right? So we have a mathematics test. What if you're a musician?
Right. Yeah.
What if you're just a brilliant artist?
Mm-hmm.
What if you're a philosopher? Right? All the different type of animals take the one test.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, why are we asking us a fish to fly?
Yeah. Or climb a tree.
Or climb a tree. Do you know what I mean? And that's what we do. And so, like, if you could get someone to say, well, you're a fish, let's put you into a water, we'll see what you can do.
Mm-hmm.
You're a bird, let's put you into the air, let's see what you can do. See what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I love this shift. And I'm curious what your thoughts are on what are maybe some minimum thresholds. Like, okay, like you're an artist, so, but you still got to have some basic fundamental math and some basic fundamental English. How do you intuit, like, how far we take it for a kid? Like.
Great question. So let's speak about, there's two ways of looking at it, right? There's what you have to teach and how you have to teach it,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, for example, I'll tell you a story. I'm teaching grade 6, this kid, super coordinated, right?
Okay.
Super coordinated kid. Could not get estimating angles. He just couldn't get it.
Couldn't get what?
The concept of estimating angles.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
So I was like, all right. I said, give me a bounce pass. Perfect bounce pass. Like, how did you do that? So you put it the exact angle where it needed to hit.
Mm-hmm.
Got it.
Now he's like, oh, okay.
I spoke his language.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying? There's ways of doing things where it's like you can get the core structure, but you can teach it in different ways.
Yeah.
So I'll give you an example. What I would do if I was designing education from scratch,
Oh, this is fun.
I would teach less and understand more.
Okay, keep going. I want to hear this.
So when I was teaching math in Canada, right, I was part of this committee that like redesigned the curriculum.
Mm-hmm.
There is like, they have these learning expectations that you're supposed to do, and you're supposed to, you teach them, like you teach this expectations. And they said, if you're going to cover every math expectation, you have to cover one every 3 minutes. Like, it's insane. Like, you have, it's like, so what I used to think is like, I thought to myself, what can kids comfortably handle?
Yeah.
Right? And I just think in threes. So I thought threes. People, if you say A, B, C, that's usually in the natural rhythm of our brain. The fourth one is usually like, oh, it's the stretch. Right? If you think about it, right? If you say
Sure.
A, B, C, D is like that's where your brain has to do the extra, get into extra rhythm, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's when you have to use like alliterations and stuff to get it remembered, because that fourth thing is not in your natural rhythm of understanding. So I used to think of myself, I said, look at a unit, I look at all this curriculum, I say, okay, what are the 3 things these kids absolutely have to know this month?
Yeah.
To teach those 3 things, what are the 3 things each week they need to understand those 3 things? And what's the 3 things they have to learn each day for them to get that, what they need to understand that week? Mm-hmm. And I kept it in a way, the rest never got taught. And the kids used to do really well for me. Because I focused on what they could handle. They could understand. And that way, I could teach you in different ways. I had the space, because I was trying to cover every little thing, that I could teach you. I could take you to the basketball court. I could talk to you about it in music. We can make it into a rap song. We could do it into drumming. If you want to learn fractions through drumming, or we had the space to do it because I was focusing on understanding more than trying to cover this ridiculous amount of content.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's cool that you were giving the leeway to make those adjustments.
I wasn't.
Oh, you just did it.
Because that year we had a standardized test, but this man told me something once. I asked the question, I was a rookie teacher, and I was like, dude, how are you supposed to cover all this?
Yeah.
It's impossible. like it's physically impossible.
Totally.
And I said, what do you do? Like, do you teach, are you trying to cover the curriculum? Or am I trying to, if the kids are too fast? And he said something to me that I'll always remember. Just what, now 28 years later or something.
Wow.
He said, if you're teaching at a speed that your kids can handle, you might as well teach in another room. And I always remember that.
Yeah.
Right? So what I realized was, because I taught them to understand, the stuff that they didn't teach, they could figure out because they understood.
Yeah, the stuff that they actually did learn.
Right. And then the other stuff, like the micro, I call them micro, but you also have to be skilled enough to like pick the right things to teach.
Sure.
Right. So I had to think about, like, if I have these 25 things to teach, what are the 3 I need to focus on that will give them the understanding that they can do the rest? And that's what they did well. But my focus is that they got to understand it. So the key is, as you have to be very, like, you have to know the subject well enough to understand, okay, they're teaching this, but if I teach them this, they'll actually get these things. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure, like, in coding, you could probably think it in coding sense.
Yeah.
Right? Like, there's probably things that, like, if you're to say, these are all the things that you need to learn, but if I teach these key things, the rest they can handle.
Yeah. Well, and what I love about this approach too is if they're actually learning skills along the way, then you're not destroying their confidence such that at a point you're just like, well, I might as well give up. I have no idea what's going on. But at least if you're learning something along the way, you maintain that self-esteem in the ability to continue.
Especially, and that's so important, because what you want kids to have is that confidence that they can figure what they don't know out.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
That's the key, is they have to see it and have that resilience to be like, okay, I see it. I have enough understanding to give it a go.
Definitely.
And if you think about, if you're a kid, right, especially something like math or science, and they're moving at such a pace, what happens to you? You just blank out.
Yeah.
So you're teaching at this ridiculous speed, and you've lost half the kids.
Yeah. So then how do we don't have a world where we can have a teacher for every kid. So how do we do this student-focused or student-centered versus system-centered learning in a way that is still scalable?
Great question. There's answers.
Okay, good.
There's answers. In the United States, you have some of the best educational research facilities in the world. Harvard, Stanford, outstanding research. No one listens to them. The policymakers don't listen to them. Right? So everything that they're telling the system to do, they're not doing it because they want to. It's a harder sell for the politicians to their constituents. Right? So if you look what they're doing, they're actually taking education backwards because that's what the parents understand. And I know this because when I was doing my master's at a U.S. school, they told me this. I'm like, well, we know this. Why are they doing it? Like, they won't listen to us. We presented teachers and reports, and you talk to any educational professor around in the United States, they'll tell you, like, we've presented these findings. This is what we're telling. This is what's best for our students. This is how we can do it in a presentable way.
What are those findings? Like, what is the best way that these institutions have come up with that are not being followed or listened to?
Okay, one, utilize what's out there.
Okay.
Right? This is not 1875. Right? Utilize what's out there. We have technology. Utilize it. Why are we teaching kids the capitals of states in grade 5? Why?
Right.
Like, why? They can literally say, Siri, what's the capital of New Hampshire?
Yeah.
Like,
totally.
They literally, like, why?
Okay.
I mean, why are we telling kids to study things that they can just research? Like, informational stuff we should not be doing anymore.
Yeah, like rote memorization.
Why?
Yeah.
Why waste that capacity? Why? So imagine taking out all of that crap. How much space have you opened up for discussion?
Yeah, I mean, 80% probably.
You just opened the whole world up.
Yeah.
Right? Second, what's the defining purpose of education?
I'm going to take a guess at it, then you tell me how close I am. So I'd say the defining purpose of education is to, like, prepare kids for adulthood.
Yes. Part of that is confidence. Part of that is what skills are we teaching?
Yeah.
So what we want to focus on are skills.
Okay.
Right? Content and information, they literally could just be like, what is it?
Yeah.
And now with AI, use it.
Yeah, agreed.
Use it. Identify what are the skills you need to teach. Now, skills you can teach in different ways. Now, once you identify the skill you're teaching, now we can utilize, now we can make it student-centered.
Okay.
See what I'm saying? Think about it, right? If you want to teach a kid basketball, a skill that you have to practice, you can teach basketball 1,000 different ways. Right? Depending on your size, depending on your skill level, you can take it at different speeds. There's so much things you can do. Second, how are you assessing kids? That's the next thing. Having percentages is a waste of time.
In terms of, like,
of
where
this.
they fall compared to the
this.
other students, or?
You have 2 daughters.
Yep.
They come to you and they say, you have an 86% in math. What does it tell you?
Yeah, that they've got 86% of their questions right. Yeah.
Like, of what?
Sure.
Like, if you get a math 86, do you know what it is? Do you know what standard it is? Do you know where they have to focus on? It tells you nothing.
No.
So the purpose of it is for what? They have this called standards-based grading. This has been established for decades. Standards-based grading is when you say, okay, this is the standard. Where are they in relation to the standard? Now we're talking about something.
Yeah, now, okay. No,
so now you say, okay, if we're talking about how they are problem solving, are they doing complete problem solving with their algorithms? They are at standard level. Okay, they're okay with that skill. They're below standard level. Now we need to know where they can get support. Now you're assessing to learn. And that's the point of assessment. It should tell us how can we learn to get better.
Okay.
Right? So assessment's another thing where it's like, and that way no one's better than the other. We're all just trying to grow. We're trying to get growth mindset. So it's like, it's hard to tell kids to have growth mindset, then you give them these grades.
Yeah. Well, and so much I'm sure you've encountered, but like even just our kids have had experienced a little bit of traditional school, and my frustration with those experiences has been kids are smart and they figure out like, oh, the way I'm being assessed is my grade. And so now they adapt what they're doing to achieve the grade instead of learn the thing. No matter how many times I'm like, I don't care about your grade. Do you know how to do that? But when the system is telling them, you got to get this grade, that they have to adapt to achieve that result.
And that's another thing that's been told by the system for thousands of. But the thing is they're doing what's convenient, not what's best for the kids.
Yeah.
So, for example, I've taught last year when Didi had to do the standard-based exam, right? So, me and her went through about 3 or 4 practice ones.
Mm-hmm.
Didi knew about almost everything.
Okay.
Right? And I was going through everything. I told Didi, you don't even have to write the exam. Because I know you know it. I know you know how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I tutor kids in math in your grade. I know you know how to do everything. You can explain it to me. You can do practice. You could teach it.
Mm.
So there's nothing that can happen tomorrow that matters.
Yeah.
Because I know what matters is you know how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
You've learned it. Right? So take all the pressure off of you. Right? Just enjoy the experience.
Yeah.
Just an activity. Right? Just take a deep breath and do it.
Yeah.
Right? If you get a miss on, it's not because you don't want to do it, it's because you made a mistake. This means you're human, which is okay.
That's another thing is it seems, especially with more traditional focused approaches to school, there's a massive emphasis on not getting anything wrong. And this is one thing I've tried to do a lot of work with Amaya on, is she'll get really stuck on a problem and be so afraid to make a mistake that she won't move forward. And I'm like, baby, just guess, I can tell you, but you have to get it wrong to learn it.
Right.
If I tell you the right answer, it's not gonna
help you.
Yeah, I don't care if you get that problem right.
I care that you tried it.
Yeah, exactly. So what are some ways that we could adjust broad, scalable systems that emphasize the willingness to try? Could we actually assess effort as opposed to outcome?
Yes.
How?
You can.
Okay.
When I go to see a teacher with Didi, I say, I don't care what grade she gets. I say, I care about 2 things. She asks good questions, and she's happy.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else, me and your mom can handle it.
Uh-huh.
Right? But I want my daughter to come home happy, and I want her to ask questions.
Okay.
So you can assess kids' questioning. You can assess kids' resilience. Mm-hmm. You can assess that. You can create criteria to see stuff like how often do they try to complete a task? Do they try, and then you have to pay attention to that. How beautiful would it be for a teacher to pay attention to how gritty your kid is?
Mm-hmm.
If you put value into grit, and kids were focused on we're teaching grit, and if you try 25 times, that's your A.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? What is that? What is that teaching that kid?
To try.
To try. To value, to not give up, to try again, because that's what we're going to value. See what I mean?
But now I also see your point about that's harder to do. I would imagine, as the educator, to evaluate that. I feel like I'd have to be really watching each individual student.
It's all about your processes, right? If you're doing a assessment every week, yeah. Mm-hmm. What if I had this one brilliant teacher in high school, when I was in high school, geography teacher.
Uh-huh.
He had 2 assessments all year.
Okay.
All year. One was do a world map, and I'm 30 years later, and I still remember it.
Oh, wow.
We had to do a world map, and we had to do 1 was one-page quiz. That was it.
Huh.
In grade 13, when we had OAC at the time. And no one ever missed his class. Because he said something, they talk about Pavlov's dog experiment.
Yeah.
About how like the bell and the meat and the saliva. He says you're going after the grade, which is the bell, and you're leaving the meat, which is the learning.
Oh, I like that.
Right? He says, so go after the meat. So he's just come to learn.
Mm-hmm.
He said, I'm not taking attendance. If you don't learn, don't learn.
Yeah.
But come and he had one thing that he does that I adapt to my teaching is every class he taught you as if you didn't know nothing. So he'd take the concept from the very beginning and teach it to the end, and people just enjoyed his class.
Yeah.
And you learned, like you came out like, wow, I learned something. And you weren't so stressed about the assignments and this stuff. So let's say, for example, you focused on, okay, we're going to look at your grades, your assessment, and just give you a feedback. We're just going to give you feedback, right? So we're not grading it. We're just giving you feedback. Let's say, okay, this is what you can do better. So you can do better. And I'm observing you for 2 months. Now I can assess your grade.
Right. Okay.
Who says that's a success every week?
Right.
Who says that? You know what I mean? And one thing about standardized grading too is one of the principles is that you don't assess the process. They talk about formative and summative assessments, right? So formative assessments are like assessments that like you do it, like your daily or weekly stuff. You're just giving feedback on. Summative assessments when you say, okay, what's your final thing at the end? So you're giving kids. You're not. It's kind of like assessing a concert on the practice, not on the concert itself.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean, looking at a play and looking at the rehearsals rather than the performance.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I can appreciate those metaphors, but it also does highlight that there is something value about teaching kids to think about producing a specific result. Like, yes, the effort is really important, and when it's showtime and you're ready to do the concert, like, dude, you got to crush that. Like, it's got to be the best concert you've ever put on in your life. And so I guess is the idea you just trust that if you do all the preparation right, it's going to go right?
No, I totally agree with you. But who says this test, that has to be a test?
Right, like, so.
Why don't you do a concert?
Right, and no pressure.
Like, why doesn't the end result be we did a magnificent concert? That be the end result.
Rather than some 97%.
Yeah, some random grade.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, why doesn't it be like, you can have like big summative like things that they're building towards, which is amazing. Like, I used to do that stuff when I was in teaching. We used to have like every like 6 weeks, I'd have like a big thing that we're working towards. We're building towards it. And for me, it was just like enjoying the process, and it's a great thing at the end. And that was the memory.
Yeah.
Like, that's what you remember about school, like those performances, and that's what it should really be about. Right? And also too, it's just like that intrinsic will to do well. Like, for example, if you're working in a group of 3 kids and you've been working on something, right? What will matter to that kid more, that they didn't get a good grade, they missed a test, or they let their friends down?
Oh yeah, I mean,
do you know what I mean? Just the intrinsic value of being together and working something out and having a summative assessment at the end, that's fantastic.
Yeah, definitely.
So that would be my answer, right? Okay. Whereas like all that research is out there. They have design systems from front to back, how to do it, how to create assessments, how to create schedules, how to create like from K to 12 programs that would be highlighted that you could do it within budget. You just won't listen.
That's so frustrating.
Ask the professors in education across the United States.
That's
why you see like Finland and Sweden just destroying us in the global assessments, because they're listening to the research.
They're like, oh, that's a good idea. Let's try that.
Right.
out.
So their schools look totally different. It's like their schools. I was in a yoga class the other day, and I was way behind. Right. Like I couldn't keep up with these guys. These guys were like pretzels. Right. But what was amazing was the yoga instructor. She was like, you just do it at your own speed. So you look up, every single person is doing their own thing. Some people are like standing on their head. People like me are just trying to turn around.
Totally.
But the fact was just like, you do it at your own speed. It's student centered. You know what I mean? It's based on what each student needs. And everyone came out. It was just amazing to see everyone, literally every person in the class was doing a different pose at different speeds, transitioning at different periods.
Yeah.
At their level, and everyone got something out of it.
Were you in that moment where you were like, student-centered yoga class? Like,
well, what at first was because I'm so new and I have no idea what I'm doing. I usually just look around to someone to see what they're doing, but everyone's doing something different.
You're like, oh shoot.
So what I was doing was I was just saying, okay, just try to do it by just taking my time and doing it at the pace that I can handle.
Yeah. Gotcha. What's coming up for me now that I'd like to get your insight on is clearly you have a wealth of experience and expertise on being an educator and helping kids do the best there. Now I'd really like to transition to talk about, how you've applied a lot of that. Well, whether you've applied that or not, but like the principles that you bring to being a father, when you have this direct one-on-one relationship with a kid to have the biggest impact there.
Great question. One of the things that has helped me as a father is having principles. Is having a clear understanding and vision of what I want for Didi. Right? That's been a big thing. Is understanding what the values are, what I want for her, and making sure the whole concept of the power mindset is front and center when I'm dealing with Didi. Right? So I want her to feel empowered to be her best self. Right?
Yeah.
And so I try to make sure I'm consciously aware, and of course sometimes I falter, right? About making sure that she's in her realm of power. Right? That we're not stripping her of her power. And when that does happen, that's when I get like very defensive to Didi. Like, if you take away from her power, you'll see Jeff turn into the lion. Right? That's when that's because I become like furious.
Okay, tell me more about that. So,
because, for example, she had a situation last year where one of her friends just stopped talking to her.
Oh man. Okay.
Right? So she was brokenhearted.
Yeah.
And I kept saying to her, like, I wasn't upset at the friend because she was honest. She said, you know what? Our friendship's finished.
Wow.
That was it. What I said to her was, and Didi and his friend has like a whole bunch of different activities together, right?
Yeah.
Was, don't be coming back and forth. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, like if this is over, okay.
Fair enough.
But we don't get to...
We don't pick and choose when we do that, right? Because that's taken away from Didi's power. Right? So we talked about the fact is like, is she one of your... Does she pass the test? Right? And so we had that conversation because Didi missed her. She wanted to be her friend again.
Yeah.
But I was telling her, I'm like, that's fine, but she has to pass the test. She has to be like, you have to tell her. And she was like, she would want to hang with her sometimes. Like, no. You don't get to do that. Right? What you can do is you can make your decision. That's up to you. You have the right to spend time with whoever you want to. That's within your power. What you don't get to do, and then what my daughter was, you can't allow her to do that. You have to be within your power to be like, how do I want to be treated? And then we work through that idea of like power, right? Like, you have the power to be like, who's going to be in your space and how you're going to be treated.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. And it comes back to where we started with being clear on those core values.
Correct.
And making sure that our kids understand them so that they can make these evaluations.
Exactly.
Let's see. What else is on your mind? Is there anything that like, I know whenever I'm going into a podcast, like I'll be kind of thinking through ideas in my head, like, oh, that'd be fun to talk about. Is there anything that you had hoped we would cover that we haven't yet?
You know what? It's funny is I really had no expectations. I just wanted to enjoy the conversation.
Yeah.
And see what came naturally. Does that make sense? Like,
yeah,
I didn't,
absolutely.
There's nothing that I said like I want to think of this. I want to think of this. I just figured if there's something I had to offer, fantastic, right?
Oh, for sure.
I think what I would say to anyone listening is when you think of the power mindset, it's not just a fancy term, right? There's real reasoning behind the concept of power.
Mm-hmm.
The concept of power is the ability to exert influence. So what you want to make sure you're doing is that your mindset in a space where it's worthy and strong enough to exert influence and wise enough when to learn for it to grow. Right?
Yeah.
So, and exert influence, I'm not saying over people, more over situations.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like when you are, and I always talk about these two kind of balances. During a day, you have a breakthrough or breakdown moment. You use your power mindset to overcome the circumstance and break through.
Yeah.
And I always talk about the balance of creation versus consumption. Right? When you have those moments, use your power mindset to be like, where am I be? And you start to create. Right? So for me, that's what I would like people to take away from.
Yeah.
Is that, and I always talk about the carrot, the egg, and the tea bag.
Oh, I gotta hear this. What's this?
So it's an old Chinese proverb.
Okay. The carrot, the egg, and the tea bag.
Correct.
All right.
So they all go through the same stimulus, hot boiling water. So if you put a carrot in a boiling water, a hard vegetable becomes soft. If you put an egg through the boiling water, it becomes hard on the inside. But a tea bag influences the water.
Oh.
Right? It changes its environment. It exerts its influence. So you want to be the tea bag.
Okay.
Right? And you've seen people who have that presence.
Yeah.
You ever seen someone walks in the room and the room changes?
For sure.
Dwayne is like that, my friend Dwayne.
He
just walks into the room and the room changes.
He's the tea bag.
He's the tea bag. Now I think of Magic Johnson, right? Like he has a big, beautiful smile. He walks in, the flowers start smiling. You know what I mean? The air feels brighter, right? You want to be someone that has that presence about them, that's positive, that's in lifting. You want to be the tea bag to exert the influence positively around your environment.
Yeah, I love that. It's a simple, easy way to remember it too. And just make sure I'm influencing the water rather than being made hard or made soft, for example. Amazing. Okay, so one last question for you. This is the signature question.
Go ahead.
If you could push a button, snap your fingers, take some action, and then everybody on planet Earth tomorrow wakes up with a new belief ingrained in their heart, body, mind, and soul. Not just like a piece of data, like, oh, now I know that this is true or not, but like they believe it. What would you choose to implant in everybody and why?
That's a fantastic question. The first thing that's coming up to me would be that if everybody understood that they're connected to everybody else.
So then the belief would be you're connected to everybody else.
Because you would see the world in a different way. Right? That you'll realize that the energy that you put out connects to everybody else. Energy they put out connects to you. And the whole idea would be, it's not for me to dominate you, it's for me to uplift you. And I think that if the world thought that, I think that would be a seismic shift.
Yeah, I want to live in that world.
Me too.
All right. So then let's talk about how people can get a hold of you. Imagine that listeners would be interested in this Power Mindset program. They have kids. What's the best way to get a hold of you and learn more about it?
All right. So you can find me on Instagram at JC's The Power Mindset. You can look me up on JC Hyles on YouTube. Look up your Power Mindset on Facebook. And you can look up JC's The Power Mindset on LinkedIn.
Right on. Yeah, and I'll get those links from you and share them in the show notes.
All right, my man.
Find them directly.
This was amazing.
Yes. Thank you for your time, Jeff. Thank you, everybody, for listening. See you next time.